Hear it in a second. Save. It's gonna happen. Oh, there it is. Listen to Maybel. Hey, can you chill? No. No. Oh, she's getting so much better. Look at this little sweet angel. No problem. Thank you for the alarm. I didn't catch it. Um, she was just eating dinner. She eats an early dinner on Tuesdays. Usually she eats at 5, and she knows exactly when it's 5. And lately she's been pushing me to eat a little earlier because on Tuesdays she eats at 4. But I think it's so funny that she heard me say hello and she knew to run in here to see what was up. So, if you saw my Instagram, I got Maybel a new toy, and she likes it. So let me introduce you to the Snoop. it's uh, it's kind of dirty because she's been eating it this week, but it is just a little half ball. It's got a little hole at the bottom, which I kind of wish was plugged because she gets the treats. I have to get her the extension. She's so good at it that she can put her nose in there and then she just licks them out, and it's just kind of disgusting, but it's kind of cute. But anyway, she loves it, and this is the Snoop, and probably the most expensive ball I've ever purchased, but worth it, and worth investing in the little extension piece to make it a little more difficult. You ready? You want this? Come and get it. Say nice. Say please. Can you give me a paw? Can you show them that you do tricks? Can you show? Can I get your paw? Oh, it's a little high. Can you show? Come on, paw. Oh, wow. Good girl. There you go. Yeah, she wants the Snoop bad. Okay. All right, ow. She's very strong. All right, this week we're doing some cool things. Kadence is done. Kadence is done, and I uploaded Kadence's rig into Gumroad. I made it an account there. It is free, so feel free to put in $0 at the checkout. I'm not sure. This is I'm new to Gumroad. I knew it was there, and I know the rigs that are on there, but I've never done this. So, but feel free to put a 0 there, and all I ask in return is that if you are using the rig, I really want to see what you're doing with it. So please share. Please share that, and I'd love to see people practicing animation with this. Like I said, I wanted to build something that was like a really good studio level rig, but also on a little bit on the easier side. So they get harder as you go, you get deeper into the productions. But anyway, today we're gonna practice posing Kadence. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm not an animator, so I'll be completely honest. Sometimes my timing sucks. But I certainly know how to use Toon Boom to put a pose together. And since Maywah made us this amazing pose sheet, we're going to use it. So we're going to create those poses and see if we can create maybe like a little cycle out of one or two of them. Probably won't happen all today, but this is the chapter we're on right now until we start rigging a new character. So it won't be a character. But will be a new rig, so we won't discuss any more of that. But yeah, we'll animate until we get there. So I'm so happy that you're here, Bass Birdie, and all the other people that are also in this little chat. Say hi, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Anyway, with that, let's get into gameplay and share my screen. And let's start working. Let's start rigging. Come on, my window. There we go. Okay, so I should probably tell you what's inside the package that you can download from Gumroad. It is the entire work scene file. So you're actually going to get this file. And you're also going to get the TPL, which is just the Kadence rig. I thought I fixed this, but anyway, I found another mistake, but it's tiny. We don't have to worry. I will show you it, but I'm not worrying about it too much. I thought I fixed it though. And then what else? It comes with everything that is inside the rig. So the full rotation, all the pose, all the mouth charts, all the hands, the feet, all this. One thing that I probably should have thought of last week before I created it, I probably should have made everything put everything before the 60 frame mark. So if you do download the rig, make sure that you extend your scene by a few frames, just so that you see the final. What part is this one? This is the profile mouth. So just so that you don't cut those poses off, they are included. They'll be hidden. They'll be hidden at this under the 60 frame mark. All right. So what we have to do, whenever you're given a scene in animation, depending on whether you're building your scene from scratch or if you're working in animation and you're given the scene and it's all compiled for you, a lot of times when the rigs come, they're usually set up like this. Sometimes we'll put blank space in between the rig, meaning, let me do this. Let me just push this here. So something like this. So all this in front would be blank space. And what that means is, let me hide this design. And what that means is, like, that's the space that you have to animate. But usually it's the animator's job to move the keys to the end of the timeline. So we're going to do that. We're going to move the keys to the end of the timeline just to make some space, which I've already kind of done, but we'll go a little further. My OCD enjoys everything to fall on the beginning of the dark blocks. I don't know why this one isn't. It's a little off. Oh, she's so good. She got through her snoop already. You're so snooping fast. You're snooping fast on that thing. It's pretty impressive. And then the next thing that I like to do is I like to create an extra key. So one extra key to preserve all your keys. Boom, like so. Okay. And then the second key to say whatever pose that we need. So let's check which pose we're going to do first before we start, not paying attention to what we're doing. Let's see, Cade's pose sheet, activate it. Let's bring this into the scene. And let's make sure we're not really working with the mouth anymore. So let's unhook this one. We're not really working with the hands anymore. So let's unhook this one. And we're not really working with the shoes anymore. So let's unhook this one. And I'll deactivate that one just so that I'm not paying attention. You'll notice that I like to work this way too. I usually, and this is trying to think, studios usually have things separated in their main networks, and you can kind of say that I try to keep the same, but it might actually be flipped. I feel like what studios will do is they'll set up their scenes, so you'll have a background, you'll have all your reference files, meaning your storyboards, that would be your reference file. And what else would be in a scene? All your characters, all your props. That's pretty much it. That's all you need. You won't have any effects or compositing yet because that's the stage after the animation. But typically everything's kind of lined up in a way that's pretty organized over here. And in this case, I don't have a storyboard, but I do have this pose sheet. So I'm going to kind of utilize it. And what we can do even, since this is our reference material for rigging, what I'll do is I'll keep it over here. I'm going to copy this, Control V, and I'm going to copy paste special this. And I'm just going to swap these out. So now I'm just paying attention to the one instead of the other. At this stage, why is that super loud? And where did it come from? Okay, all right, so the other thing that you can do at this stage is you can group your reference material. The reason why I don't group my reference material is because I find along with a lot of other people when they're working with groups, that they kind of block the process. So I group it at the end if I'm going to group it. A lot of times when we're rigging with in the industry, our rigging scenes kind of stay the rigging scenes, and we send the templates out to animators to use. So it's not like they have access to all this stuff. But if you want to clean up the scene, you can just go ahead and Control Shift G or Control G. One of these gives you a composite and one of them doesn't. Here we go. Which is fine. And I'm going to cut all this stuff. Doesn't really matter. But groups always like to automatically. Come on. There we go. And let me go back. Let me get out of this tool. Turn it off. All right, now my group is done. I'll label it rigging reference. Again, I left it ungrouped for the sole purpose that it wasn't hidden on people. Sometimes when you're newer to the software, things that are hidden in the software are just harder to find. So I don't like to do that. I don't like to work in that method. I try to make it as easily accessible for everyone. So set it and forget it. Your rigging reference material, we're over on the other side. And today we're going to work with the posing. So I'm going to bring my character. Where is my character? I'll bring the Z depths back. So let's create another peg. Call this ZD for Z depth. And let's see. Whoops. Backwards. Oh, you know what it is? I forgot. I already forgot that I moved my keys over. All right, so which pose are we going to work on first? I was thinking if we did this one here, I could do a simple head nod, which I think is a really cool one, especially since the character has these really cool like forehead chunks and cheek chunks. So I think that would be a lot of fun. We could do that today. But I'm also really excited to get into all of these little face shapes and these two bigger poses over here. So maybe what we can do is just I'm just debating. Bass Birdie, you want to do the head nod or do you want to do the facial expressions? Quick vote. I love the illusion of 3D. Yeah, I do too. I need you know what I need to do? I need to do a long character, because long characters are so much fun. And I don't mean long like as in tall. I mean long like when they turn, you can see the body kind of extend, kind of like I always like to use corgis and hot dogs, not the hot dog, but the wiener dog, Dachshund, as an example, because when it's like from this direction, they look so small, and then when they start to rotate and their butts kind of swing around, oh, that's my favorite. That is my favorite. Head nod today. Okay, we'll get into head nods when we get into head nods. I have no idea how long it's going to take. Maybel, you okay? Yeah, she's good. All right, so let's do that. So this is our front view, so I'm going to use the front. I'm going to use the front character. So we'll use the front keyframe, and it's pretty easy. From here, we're just going to copy and paste, and that gives us our character for the first 20 frames. And I'm going to just quickly reset this so that it's a little bit bigger. And because we have these poses, I'm just gonna, and this is another thing, I'm not an animator, so this is where I'm gonna struggle. I struggle to draw. I'm not a sketch artist. It's just not my habit. But if you sketch out your poses before you get into this stage, that is going to help you immensely. The posing stage and how you set up your poses is really, really important when you go into animation. So if you find that you're hitting that that tween button the set motion keyframe, when you find that you're hitting that button and your character kind of explodes before it kind of comes back together, which does happen, and don't worry about it. That happens to me too all the time. Kind of have to fix it and go back. But if that happens, it just means that you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the pattern on how you're animating and how you're grabbing these pegs. And so that's what I'm going to try and show you today. That's kind of how I learned how to animate. So I find it to be a pretty effective way. But anyway, since I don't really animate, I have to go by these sketches. So thank goodness Maybel made this incredible pose sheet, because I don't think that I'd be able to do it as well if I didn't have the reference material. So what I like to do, and animators are going to do this very differently. So again, this is a pose sheet and it's a reference chart. Sometimes animation studios will have pose sheets that build artists will actually go in and fill out. I know that when I worked on Jake and the Neverland Pirates, last week I was saying that a rotation of a character had 360 frames to it. So it was like 360-degree rotation, 360 frames. But those frames and those scenes were more like 1,000 frames long, because there were so many poses that we would keep adding. And it's not that we were adding the poses every single time. A lot of times they get pulled from animation. So when an animator or a supervisor sees a really good pose that they want to reuse, they put that in the library, and then that can become part of the rig. So that collection process of information becomes very, very popular. It's the reason why Harmony is such a big hit, and that library is so strong. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these poses, and I'm gonna basically pose it out on top of the sketches. But animators kind of work in two ways. So they'll either take the board and do what I'm doing, like kind of make a life-size camera version, or they'll do this. They take the board, they make it a lot smaller, and sometimes your scene will be set up like this. And it goes over here, and then the animator's job is to go in and kind of fill in the gaps, fill in the details. They set up the scene the way that the board looks, but I can't work like that. So sorry, I gotta do it differently. I gotta do it differently. But here we go. All right, so let's call this one copy, Control P. Let's do head poses, head nods. Okay. All right, so pretty basic stuff. The only thing that I have to make sure that I'm doing in this case is remembering that I'm not going to flop the hair. The hair is going to stay on the side that it's on, and I'll tweak the pose based on that. So make sure I can't grab it, and let's bring it, actually we're going to bring it forward. Still might be a little too short. Something tells me this scene is not going to change too much. And by this scene, I mean this pose. All right. All right, so in this case, it is looking forward. This would be the very standard pose. I think what I'm going to do in this case is all I want to do is make sure that the expression is similar, so it's not a complete change. It looks like the character is pretty expressive over here with a little like wonder. So let's kind of give the character that wonder pose. And from here we can use don't forget we have the drawing substitutions over here. Looks like I missed one. Looks like I missed two. Looks like I missed three. What the heck? Alright, well, it's on Gumroad. You have to fix it. That's your first challenge. We'll get there. Something to also remind yourself is no rig is ever perfect. Just let that idea go. Okay. Let's find the appropriate mouth. Let's go with this one. And what we can either do is you can either be popping back and forth to this window to turn drawings off. Something like that. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. I meant to grab this one. And then the other option is using your shortcuts. So when you're jumping between drawings, it's the square bracket on your keyboard, the parentheses next to the P and the enter button. So that's the shortcut to flip between your drawings. And when you're turning drawings off, don't forget that's the easiest because you're just going straight to the right. Yeah, to the right. Yeah, right-handed. Straight to the right, and then it's gone. It's disappeared, but it's also not. Remember, this is why it's really important in rigging. In your. Oh, it's gonna take me forever to find. Let's jump over to where's the mouse crease. We set it up. We set it up so that the pose wasn't just an empty space in the timeline. It is a closed drawing. So again, when you're animating, you want to use these blank drawings. You do not want to create a situation where you're creating gaps in your timeline. This is where it becomes important because you will find that you will have to go and backtrack and clean up your timeline, which is the worst. So you want to avoid that. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying you want to avoid it. And when it happens, you'll be fine. That's how you learn. We still make these mistakes. Okay, moving forward. Drawing off, we got the blank things. And what I like to do is I go to the, I know I'm kind of like, I might be skipping a little bit of a step here. But what I like to do is I travel down the pegs. So in this case, the character is not necessarily changing too much because it is the front view. I'm changing some details, but it's not the head position isn't changing. If I wanted to change it just for fun, I could kind of make some adjustments, but I don't think that it's totally necessary. So let's see, I want to take a look at this mouth over here. It's got a little bit of a longer. And what I want to avoid is taking the whole deformer and pushing the whole thing up. In that case, it's better to use the peg. So let me put those back to where I think that they were. In that case, it's better to use the mouth's peg. So something like this. And then just use your deformers to kind of change the details. When you're animating, you want to work big to small. So again, we are not necessarily affecting too many of the top pegs right now, but if you had to, and the next pose we will have to, you'll see how they kind of influence. But always work from your pegs and then go down to the details, and a deformer would be considered a detail. So you want to do that first. And I'm just going to put this mouth kind of more in the center because it's a little, I like the and we'll just start here. And let's see, let's compare these eyes. Are these eyes all kind of long like this? Big, wide, and open? A little bit different. Let's, for fun, let's head into our eye rigging area. So just for fun, let's kind of like match the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the whole eye And again, I'm working big to small, so not the eye master, because this is going to be the whole thing with the eyebrow, and I don't want to include that eyebrow at this time, so I'm going to grab the eye all. You can also see that actually I'm making a quick mistake. I want to be animating on the first frame and not the second. All right, so let's push these over. And from here, you can be using the shortcuts of B and Shift B to come back down. This is something that you want to get really, really comfortable with as you start to animate. So you can either hit B to go up by clicking all the little bits. So B, 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 B. But the way that I learned how to animate was to just actually use the network, because I'm just way more comfortable in there. So that's what I do. So I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna bring that not that keyframe. I'm gonna bring that peg all the way down, because I want it to be in the same position. I'll turn on some of these deformers so that I can see. I still want that eye to stay awake. I don't want that eyelid to show, so I'm going to move that forward. And all of my pivot points are in the right spot because I moved the top one. So now I don't really have to worry about too many things. I'm just going to start deforming. And here is where we'll do the next one. You can grab these in multiples, so you can just go. I like to click. I'm a shift and click kind of person, but you can actually use. It always looks so funny. Half posed. We want wider. Oh, Maybel, you're being so good. We got some neighbors outside, so she's being so good. Good girl. Good girl. Wow, so good. Good girl. She's being quiet for now. Okay, so we've got the one eye. Let's see. We want to make sure that our pupil is rounded enough and doesn't look that it's kind of becoming pointy. All right, and so now we'll match the other eye. I'm going to do the same thing, go over there. Again, I'm going to bring my peg down, put the eye in place to match it. Gonna squish it over just a little. And then we can. I'm going to use the handles to push that eyelid up, but I can also show you what that looks like because I didn't do it on the last one when you don't. So let me. You can do this. And we'll see what this looks like. It's going to be. Best Birdie, what are you working on today? You got any cool assignments? Okay, and one other thing that you can, the way that right now, I'm doing everything with my mouse. I don't know how this happened. At some point, I just started to use my mouse, and now it's like I'm more comfortable with it. But it's way slower. All right, so using your lasso, you can also select deformer points like I just did. Let me just move that out of the way. And let me check these poses to make sure that the eye is not too pointy. Gonna be pretty stunned. All right, so let's bring this shape in a little bit more. And this is where you can, if you've got the sketch skills and the animation skills, feel free to have fun. Getting in there. Let's move all of our blush. So I'm going to jump up some spaces. I'm not moving my blush all together. I'm moving each one individually. And actually what I might do is I will move this down, and I won't turn the blush, but I will rotate the dimples using the deformers. That way my blush is not rotating on their face. So we'll do this one as well. It's kind of giving me, oh, I don't want to rotate it. I'll avoid. Okay. There we go. We got this little, it's a little bit of a wonky smile. All right. So I'm going to leave the hair as it is for now, and then we'll see. So this is a small, this was a very small first pose, but we'll work into the next one. It'll be a little bit more work. You say you don't draw. I do not draw. How did you get into animation? Great question. I faked it. I did draw. I did draw getting into animation, and it was probably one of my weaker skills. And it's probably, I won't say that it held me back in animation, but it's just not something that I've been able to keep up with. When I craft, when I make stuff, I'm physically making stuff. I'm actually more of a sculpture artist. I actually have a sculpture background. And so when I'm making stuff, I loom. I actually make my own looms and do a lot of fiber art. So that's the thing that's kept me into, and I'm not even a software person either. I'm anti-software. I'm gonna be one of those people that have sheep and comb their sheep and create fiber. I've already looked into buying, not sheep. I have not looked into buying sheep. I've looked into buying spinning wheels. I have seen, every time I come across a spinning wheel, I'm always like, this is a great deal. Maybe it's time. So that's where my passion lies somehow. But what rigging does is it appeals to my puzzle brain, and my puzzle brain loves it. So, and that's why I like looming, because it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle for my hands, and things like that. But so what I learned to do with animation, and this is something that I like to tell students. So if you've got students that don't feel confident in their drawing skills, they don't necessarily need them unless they're getting into traditional animation. That's when that's really important. And if you're animating hands, stuff like that, it really, that's when it really becomes more practical. And it can really save your life. Drawing hands and drawing shoes can save you a lot of time. But what I've learned to do is repurpose artwork and trace, and I kind of repurpose and trace and delete things to save my life, and that works. That works for me. I've made that work for myself. I've seen other people take on to that. Yeah, so I would say that learning to draw is very, very beneficial, especially if you want to be a traditional animator, and also just like learning how to visualize what's in front of you, object wise. Like if you think about like the objects in space and the masses and the volumes and this arms, like you will pick that up and you will learn that. But for me, drawing in life drawing, my drawings never got better. I never really progressed. I never really got past that hump of this looks awkward. But I did understand the value of like putting shapes in front of each other, so that I could pick up. But getting the objects to look like a human was a bit harder for me. So it just when I got into the animation industry and I wasn't practicing it, and at the time we didn't have life drawing in studio, so a lot of studios still offer that, which I think is really cool. But we didn't have it at the time, and so my drawing skills just faded away. And then I picked up a whole bunch of other things, and yarn has is where I stopped. So that's where that comes in. But it doesn't stop you. It hasn't stopped me. I don't think it has to stop. Why do I keep hitting save? I don't think it has to stop anybody. It's just a matter of your personal workaround. Which is why I like to show off my skills too, because I don't think that I have maybe done this exactly the same way as everybody else. And so as people's skills kind of become more out there publicly, you can kind of start to see how you would develop these skills. Like my skills, this rigging this one way, you won't be rigging this way specifically in a studio unless this is the method. I don't know how to explain this. I don't think I'm explaining this well, but if you can take the skills and the tools that I'm showing you here and learn to understand them well enough, then you will thrive anywhere. That's what I'm trying to get across from people. You got a buddy at Jamfeld. Oh, cool. Yeah, he's okay at drawing, but he understand. Don't tell him that. But he understands force really well. So animating with rigs, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what's nice about rigs is you don't have to like obviously sketching. As I mentioned, sketching really really helps. I have these poses. When you get them from a show too, sometimes they're like they've gone through the process of being analyzed by people in the production. So they're going to be on model. They're going to be very on model. They're very specific. Sometimes you have to get a lot of approvals. So you'll get a lot of feedback. My advice is to always like let your part of the project go. So that you can get the feedback that you need to help you grow. So that's a really it's a really big it's like a nice sentence that I might have to go back and steal, but that's a very positive way of looking at it, because I can sit here and fiddle and fiddle and fiddle with this, but really the goal is to get it done and move on to the next thing. And that's actually where sketching can help, because you'll stop fiddling. You'll kind of have a limit. You'll know what your goal is, and then you get there and you hit it, and then you can move on. So that's what's kind of nice about sketching. It kind of gives you that like, okay, you've done it good enough, let's keep going. Whereas when you don't have a pose, you might fidget, and you can fidget forever. And that's a problem in animation. You can fidget forever. Such an excellent point. Yeah, which part? Even as someone who excels at drawing, you don't need to draw like Glenn. No, you don't need to draw like. It'll be interesting to see who's the next Glenn Keane. Maybe his daughter. She's also fantastic. There's so many different things to do, and skills are that. Yeah, the skills are. It's a big mix and mash of what's needed. He is okay at drawing by his own description. I'm not being a jerk. I didn't know. I don't think that you are. No, I think it's very. I think a lot of animators. I think it happens to a lot of animators. I don't know. I don't want to I'm not criticizing anybody's skills or whatever, but I think that it's just common. Like you get into the animation industry, and there's a lot of people that continue to draw, and then there isn't. And I don't think that means that it's a lack of talent. It's really just a lack of your interests, or a limit of your interests, if you can say that, and a limit of your time too. Like, there's so many things that you can do, and yeah, I think that it's really easy to, I don't know. I think I used to feel really self-conscious about not drawing as well as the other people, but when I found rigging, I really felt like I didn't need it. Like, everything was provided to me, and I just became an excellent copycatter, and a tracer within the program. Um, and if you go back to the episode where I'm drawing hands, I'm using that skill. I'm drawing hands by recreating poses, or like shifting and altering the drawings to recreate the hands. And I've been doing that for years. Nobody's ever told me they looked bad. So, I don't know. Someone tell me now. I'm gonna hear about it from someone down the line. Okay, all right. So the next thing, I'm gonna do another pose. So this pose, like I said, it was pretty easy. It was the straightforward one. We're gonna do the down view, and then we'll go to the down view. Well, let's see. Actually, Bass Birdie, is Kadence looking up or looking down? What are we looking at? I also like to think about what we're looking at. Is it a tree? Is it a bridge? Is it a building? Is it a giant Maybel? It's a giant Snoop with a bunch of trees. Now someone's gonna tell you your hands. I know. It's okay. I'm fine. I double dog dare them to tell me that my hands looked bad from 8 years ago. Appears to be looking down. Okay, so I'm gonna backtrack, and I'm gonna bring the pose forward. No, looking. What did we say? He's looking down. So I'm gonna have them look up first. Then it's gonna be normal, and then it's gonna be down. So I gotta change my. I'm gonna do to the whole head. I'm gonna copy. B. I don't think am I gonna use the bow tie? No, just this one. I'm gonna close my timeline, the whole thing. Shortcuts there are, I think it's 0 and 9. Can never remember which one's which. 0 closes, and I think 9 opens. Yeah. So it looks like I still have a keyframe here, and let me just do a quick. I'm gonna remove that keyframe just to see what pops. I was playing around on that frame. Remove. Did anything move? No. Okay, it can stay. Whoops. And by stay, I mean it can be removed. Okay, so I'm gonna push this over just by 1. And I'm gonna steal the keyframe, so I'm gonna hit B. I think that's it. If you're animating in a production, you start to learn exactly how many B's there are. By B, I mean like hitting up. All right, so I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna put this here, and I'm also gonna put this here. And I need to steal my lower body, so I'm just gonna copy, view, give us the whole body. And what am I missing here? My body. Let's bring that key over. Okay, so copy, view. I'm still animating with my mouse. Alright, let's swap this. Okay, so now we're gonna move, I'm gonna move my pose sheet. I'm just gonna use this one. So I'm gonna deactivate that to move it behind. And we said they were moving, again, I'm floored by the power of deformers are really cool. Yeah, but as long as they're used in the, like, you have to remember how you're using them. I did do my blush specifically so that I would remember to do that So that's something that I have to remember when I go back to the blush. Let's see if I remember. Got the memory of a fly. All right, so I'm looking down. So this one here is the up pose. So I'm gonna bring this all the way over. May did a great job of keeping all these things pretty consistent. So just gonna go with the flow. Not gonna resize anything. It'll be fun. Alright, so we're just going to do that, and I'm gonna bring my Z depth back. There we go. And it gives us something to mark. Alright, so what I'm gonna focus on here is again, the face and the cheeks. We said we're looking down. Yes, so we're gonna look up and then we're gonna look down. So we're gonna do, I'm gonna start a little bit easier. Or not really a bit easier, but we're going to go big to small so you can kind of see. We're just working down the pipeline, or working down the rig. And I guess it's kind of I'm like saying this now, and for the first time, I'm kind of recognizing that my way of animating is a little bit different because I'm used to working inside the network so much. This is how I like to animate. But when you're working and animating in the timeline, it's actually a little bit different, and it's funny because I'm just putting these two together right now. But you want to work from, I'm saying that you want to work from big to small, but that might be a little counterintuitive for you, the viewer on the other side of the computer who's animating. But you want to make sure you're doing that because you're, the same reason that when we were rigging, you're kind of cementing your pivot points. You want the bigger things to kind of be controlled, and if you don't animate like this, you want to remember exactly which pegs you're moving at all times. This is kind of why I like to do it this way. So it's just an easy way for me to keep an eye on how I'm doing it, which pegs I'm moving. Because if you are kind of all over the place, the way I'm talking, if I'm all over the place, your animation kind of turns into like it's a little bit all over the place, and you got like some jitters, and you might have some like things that are competing, and so that creates a jitter, and so you want to look out for those things. But animating big to small, but when you're working in the timeline, you actually typically you grab something that's on the small end, and then you hit B and you go up. So I have just forgot to count. But here we got both eyes, so now it's B1, B2, B3, B4, and then we get into the upper body. So there's 4 B's to go up the hierarchy, and then I'm going to go down 1. So Shift B, and that brings me back to the thing. And so now I can kind of rotate the head. And it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily do something like this, but that's where I like to let the deformer take that shape instead of using your pivot points. Like, again, the rigs are meant to work like cut out paper dolls, so you want your pivot points to kind of stay where they're at. It's not that you're not going to move them sometimes. You definitely will, and you definitely need to disconnect like there is a reason to disconnect the head completely, like not in this case for now, but there's definitely a reason to do that, but in this case we don't need to. So I just like to rotate, and then again I'm just going to work my way down, so Shift B, and then the pegs are going to jump in the same direction that you started, so they kind of have a little bit of a memory, so you can kind of I should be heading towards the eyes, if I'm correct. So bring it to the face and to the eyes. But I am going to jump back up. Yeah, that's great. It went back to the eye that I originally selected. But I am going to jump back up because I do want to move the whole face keyframe. Boop. So there we go. Move everything there. Put everything kind of back into place. And now I can start to move things a little bit more on a different realm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stealing animation from the previous key, and I say animation, but the pose. I've already done a little bit of the work, so I'm gonna steal it. All right, so that looks good. I'm going to leave, I'll do the mouth. And actually, I did mess up on the mouth because I grabbed the mouth peg, but I didn't grab the mouth entire peg, so I technically in the original pose, I left the teeth and tongue all behind. We don't necessarily need it for this, but I'm just saying, my mistake. So I can just go, instead I can go to the full, I could go to the full mouth master, but it means that I need to come to this frame. I'm going to hit reset here, put it back. I'm going to grab this mouth master. And that's another reason why we don't, it's a good thing that you're not using the deformers or your pegs separately, because I can make that change really easily and it doesn't affect my deformers. So I'll just do this and I'm going to steal this mouth shape. And I think that I have my deformers all locked up under there. I do. And you can tell just by looking at your arrow. So if it's pointed down, it means that your keyframes are extended. And it means you'll be missing information. So you want to make sure that everything's locked up tight into that little keyframe ball right there. I'm just going to copy, I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to steal it. And we can play with the shape. So he's going to have more fun. Go for it, Kadence. What are you looking at, Kadence? Gonna have to figure out. See, I always thought that animators had way more fun. I'm still animating with my, I gotta stop. I'm like not using my tablet as a tablet. It's way too expensive to be animating with a mouse and not be using it. Wait, what was I gonna say here? I always thought that animators, it's not that their job, I'm not gonna say their job is harder, but I always thought that the like gratification was a little bit more quick. Like animators could really see what they were doing, and there was like I was kind of jealous of that. If I could say I was jealous of anything, it's that there's something to show for the work a little bit faster than there is for rigging, and I always thought that was pretty neat. All right, so I'm using my shortcuts to turn these drawings off. Because I don't need them. And I'm gonna steal the eyes, I think, from here too. And then I'll reshape them. So from my eye main, gonna copy, Control V. All right, not quite what I want. I might even not use that. Gonna leave that the way it is. Pull my eyebrow up. Try to keep in mind to go big to small. He's looking at a 50 feet tall beat with the face. Okay. 18 meters. Oh, nice. Good save. Good save. I get feet. I'm from very close to Detroit, so I actually don't understand meters as well as the rest of Canada. I'm more imperial than metric, especially with temperatures. That's something that I've been reteaching myself over my lifetime, and I still am not as comfortable with Celsius as I am with Fahrenheit. Growing up with Detroit, we got a lot of Detroit news. We don't need to go what those news stories are, but there was definitely a lot of weather reports in my day. Okay, let's bring us to the eyes. All right, I don't want to use what I had, but let's bring this here, and we'll let the deformers. Deformers take the shapes. Which one is this one? Yeah, deformers are cool. They certainly changed. They certainly changed the game. I remember when the first deformers came about. They were like they couldn't. They were really just curved deformers, and they could. It was really hard for us to figure out how to get them to wiggle. But the guy that I sat next to in the studio, he was kind of like the go-to tech guy. He wasn't really. He just loved it, and so he was the guy that got the deformers to work for the first time, and it was pretty cool to see. But it wasn't quite practical for the show that we were working on. We didn't really know how to use them yet, so they took a little while. But as soon as we maybe took 2 years. I want to say it took 2 years to go from a curved deformer to an envelope deformer, and then as soon as the envelope deformer could close, oh, we were flying. That was the I would say that was the changing point. One of the big changing points in the history of animation was working with the closed deformers, envelope deformers. Yeah. All right. Okay. I kind of like how the pupil is in the different direction than the eye. We'll have to see what that looks like when we get a little further into the pose. Oh yeah, it's really neat, and I'm sure it's different everywhere. The history, I'm sure everybody's kind of gone through this. Anybody that's worked in the software for 10 years probably has seen that history a little bit differently, but yeah, the envelope, the deformers themselves, they were really cool. They are really powerful. Let's switch eyeballs. What we can also do, if I want to make if I want to steal this pose, I could actually go to here. If I want to steal this, let me see if it'll copy it, please. Copy it. Let's go to this one. Let's make sure I'm on the right. Ooh, I'm not on the right thing. One more. Let's steal this one, and then I can come to this eye. B. Go over here. Bring that down here. And go Control V. What? Maybe I'll just rotate that a little bit. And bring that back down. You know, that's funny. I always thought I was going to go into software programming. That's where I thought that I was heading. That was, and then, but it turned out what I was doing in software, coding class, I was just drawing pictures and making them move. So I was animating in software class. And my mom knew I was going to be going into the arts well before I did. She saw it. I think that I was fighting that I really wanted to go into. I think I really wanted to go into to software as well. How do I want to do this? How do I want to? Let's see. I want this eye to be like this, and just move it a little. You can see the whites on this eye. Let's make adjustments to this one just a smidgen. It's a little too wide. Kind of make it a little bit symmetrical. This is where my animation skills will start to my sketch. Let's see, let's bring it in a little. How do we do this? We bring this over. We wanted more whites over here. Cut off at the end. Here we go. Not too pointy. Some animators, if some animator watches this, they're going to be like, what? That's not how you pose an eye. It might be the case. It might be the case. Let's see. I'll have to see if I can get one of my friends to come on and actually animate this character for you too. That would be handy. For me as well. Maybe that's what it is. Teach me how to animate. Again, I've had a lot of animation lessons, I won't lie. I never do it enough to have it stick. Okay, let's bring this up. Let's make this a little thinner. And this doesn't have to be as bulgy. It's a little bit smaller. Okay, let's see. Trying to keep like an egg shape instead of more of a square circle. Okay, let's just see what that looks like. We'll do something. We'll see what this is. We'll let the character show us. Okay, let's get this chin. I'm gonna keep the peg where it is. I know that I've got a cutter down here, so I don't want to pull this too far. This is what you would call breaking a rig. Again, this is where we don't want to break the rig. We want to try to keep it as together as possible. That would be like, we're always, as a rigging artist, we're trying to limit how animators can break those rigs. So it looks like this part of the face coming all the way down here, and this is where the overlap line is, so I want this dot to come right down here. Let's see, I'll try to figure out how to hide some of that. Alright, so let's see, how do we hide this? So maybe if I hold shift down, I can hide it behind the maybe this is where I start to fudge with the posing to hide that. What drove you to software programming as well? Like, was that just like where the technology was at the time? Animation wasn't really a big. Um, the only reason why, the only reason why I found out about the animation program that was in my city, which I was lucky that it was there, was a couple of my friends. Because I went to university before I went to college for animation. So when I graduated high school, a couple of my friends went straight to the animation program, and they got accepted. I went to fine art school, and then when I got to the end of fine art school, I was like, what am I gonna do for work? This is not ideal. So I ended up going back to school for animation, and that's the only reason why I knew it was there. Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea it could be a career, and they were loving it. They were working really hard, but they were just loving it, and I really appreciated that. But up until then, I didn't know that that was a thing, and I think, or I should say the final year of school, of high school, I didn't know it was a thing, and that's when I took my first art class, and that's kind of what changed my opinions on everything. Math, yeah, and I couldn't do math. I'm not a great math person. Except for I could do like trigonometry. I was a little bit better at trigonometry. But I went to public school and didn't get to do it much. Oh, really? Python. Oh, nice. Do you script for Harmony? Because I believe... No, it doesn't use Python, does it? Python's for Maya. I enjoyed doing some scripting in Python for Maya when we got to that part of the class. That was kind of my, I'm not gonna say revenge, but revenge. All right, so I'm doing the blush, and as I mentioned earlier, I want to make sure that I'm animating this one in the same way, and we're gonna test our animations. We'll make sure it looks good, but I want to make sure that I'm animating this pose the same way I animated the other pose. That way they are flowing together. They flow together. But in this case, it's okay that I rotate the blush because your face is tilting. So when you have a tilt like this, you can rotate a little bit, but if you rotate something on the spot, it looks really weird. So it's something that you want to watch out for, because you don't want that. But in this case, it's okay. We're tilting everything up, so we want to have a little bit of tilt. So in this case, I'm going to tilt the blush and these little whiskers, boop, but just a little bit. So that's it. And then I'll use the deformers to take the shapes that I want them to. And then I'll do the other blush. So again, we're going to have a little bit of extreme. But in this case, I'm going to, again, use my deformers to give me a little bit more. Your deformers, once you start working like this, it's very, very easy to lose track of where your pegs are for when you're working with deformers. So that's why I'm always saying, like, you kind of want to, like, watch what you're doing. You want to make sure that you're kind of paying attention, because that's the pattern that we're looking for. I don't know how different they are between the two programs, but I do believe that they are different. So I do believe that you can't just use unfortunately, you can't use your, I mean, maybe parts of it. I shouldn't say all of it, but I think parts of it. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct my scripting ignorance. Yeah, I was learning how to do C++, and we were just getting into all that stuff, but the majority of stuff that I was, the majority of stuff that I was scripting in was touring, which is not very fun. Or not even around anymore. It's not that it wasn't fun, it's just not around anymore. All right, so I'm gonna pull this like top of the head back. I also want to try and work a little bit faster. All right, Maybel needs a little break, but not. I've already got one ready for her. She knows this is what she's waiting for. snuffle mat. Boop, 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 boop. There you go. You want this? Hey, be nice. Can you say please? Under paw. Oh, wow. So smart. Okay, there you go. Okay. Just being so patient. Okay, I also want to I'll try to get them as much done as possible. But let's see, let's go up. So we're hitting B, we're hitting B, we're hitting B. Too far. Okay, so in this case, we're going to be moving this forehead. And I think I remember talking about this while I was rigging it. So I have to remember how much I'm moving. If I want to be really precise about this, because what I have to do is I have to move the top of the head and the hair separately. Why didn't I attach this to the top of the head? Well, too late now. This is the way it is. All right, so we're gonna go like this. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit, and I'm gonna check my peg, my rotation. Here it is. So I got 10.45 copy. If I want to add that, I can do it right here. So here, got a little too far, but see what 10.45 looks like. Maybe stick with that 18, whatever it was. Looks like it needs to go a little bit more. And I'm gonna push it behind so that it looks like it's going behind the head. And let's see here. Push it forward. I'm going to start on the outside. Move myself in. Alright, and I don't love that I can't move them all together, but I do love that when I'm moving these, I have all these beautiful overlapping lines that look very lush. I'm going to use the word lush to describe that. Okay, I'm going to move this. I'm going to bring this baddie over here, help round out the skull. And I'm going to use the deformers to finish the rest. And then I'll get into the rest of the hair. Okay, and let's pose the hair. Whoops. All right. Let's push everything. Feeling good about it. And then we want to think gravity, so everything's kind of start to get squished a little bit. This is where you want to start to think about your animation principles too. Like, this is not something that step that we want to skip, especially when you're new to animation and you're going through school. Best Birdie, you're probably way better at this than I am, because you're marking things all the time. So and if you're teaching squash and stretch, so these are things that I'm no longer the best at practicing, but I can talk about them. But this is where you want to start to incorporate a lot of these things. You know, character arcs, shape arcs, squash and stretch. What am I missing? What's a principle? I think arcs, squash and stretch, those are the big ones for drawing anyway. But you can start to incorporate this, your gravity. So as something's farther back, it gets smaller. And we can also kind of like create like a little bit more of a, if you think about a big bunch of carrots, it's going to be heavy. So we can kind of like add some squish. So let's add some squish. My neighbor is like active today. Maybel's not enjoying it. Yeah, no, let's do this. Let's see. Okay, now we've got this. All right, I want to make sure this cheek is not totally washed out. I think it might be being washed out a little too much. I think it's okay that it's popping in front of the bow tie right there. All right, so now we've got this. Before we go too far, let's do a little thing where I call lock your keys. So I'm just gonna hit F6, F6, and I'll hit F6. Actually, I'm not gonna hit F6 yet. All right, so let's see. Let's move our. It's like Kadence is looking at a 50-foot tall beet, but the shoes are probably made of rhinestones. That's kind of what Kadence's vibes giving me right now. All right, let's see how far down. This head is a little low, so I want to, I'm gonna bring it up a bit. Okay. Okay, that looks good. All right, let's bring out. Let's bring out the big guns. All right, let's. We don't need to start from the top of the head again. The peg's probably gonna stay in place. In this case, we can just kind of. Vroom. It's gonna happen fast, is what this is telling me. Vroom. And we'll fix up the in between if we need to. But we can leave the peg where it's at. We're going to just move down. I'm going to jump over to the face. Center that face. Bring that face a lot lower. One thing that you can do is if you're going through this process, if you want to add more drop boxes to label things, like I've labeled the face, but you might want to have individual pieces labeled with drop boxes. That is something that is totally up to you, valid. These are your rigs now once they're in your hands too. But if you're finding that you're having a hard time jumping from area to area in the network, adding more drop boxes does help. Color coordinating them to be however you see fit. Again, it's a really great way of knowing where you are in the network. A lot of times you can even go like a couple steps further and color code your keys, not your keys. You can color code your pegs, and there's options to do that. So like, where's the face peg? So here, if you wanted to say, I like this peg, I'm going to use it a lot, and I'm just going to change it to this color. What that does is it kind of creates a little indicator there, but it also creates an indicator in your timeline, and so you can start to play with those too, and then that way you kind of know which pegs you're animating on. And again, you always want to start at the top. You use the bigger pegs, so any type of master pegs you want to start there, and then you can make your way down into trickle your way down into the little details, but you can do that too. I don't need to I don't need to do that. Although it's probably not going to hurt, but I'm not going to do it. But one thing I'm going to do is bring that face forward. So it's in front of the bow tie, and oh, this is great. So something that I didn't do in the build was create a version of this collar. You can see that the mask is breaking it. So we obviously don't want this hole in the face here. So for this pose, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this and remove the cutter. Actually, what I'm going to have to do is a little bit of engineering here. So I'm going to go into this drawing, because the whole thing is cutting the face. I'm going to duplicate it. So this button here. And I'm going to go to drawing number 2, because I don't want it to be drawing number 1. I'm going to remove the cutter. Before I do that, I want to see what layer it's on. Alright, so here I've got the line art, the color art, and the underlay. Alright, which means the overlay is not being used, which you can tell right here. So we're basically creating a bypass. This is something that I would do in rigs, but sometimes your rig needs a little boost. So here's your first tip on how to break a rig and then fix it. Or if a rig breaks, that's how you fix it. So we're going to delete this. And I am going to take, I'm just going to take this artwork, and I'm going to cut it, not paste it, or not copy it. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to color it, and I'll just pop over here and hit duplicate, and then delete it. And this is a bypass. So this is something that new animators would struggle with, but not too bad. And I'm just going to create, this was the overlay. Again, another real nice reason why we use the same groups, the little nubs, they're all the same. So we're just going to quickly create that little bypass since we weren't using it. It was obviously plugged in here. And there we go. So now the character is looking down. The face can come in front of the bow tie, and I'm gonna take a note. Where am I gonna write this note? Just like I would for work. And let's call it rig fixes, bug fixes, cadence fixes, and if I get around to doing any updates on the rig, I'll include it. So make a list, start making a list when the list gets long enough. Collar, second, drawing, cutter, bypass. Relax, you're good. Good girl. You're full of treats today. Good girl. Okay. Alright, so it's common, it happens. Alright, so now we've got the character looking down. We want to try to make sure that we are always using that same, that volumetric perspective that we mentioned. I was like, your head's tilted back. We want to bring that forward now. So now our forehead's going to be in front of our cheeks. We're going to have the hair. The hair is going to be fun to bring forward. I think that's going to be a fun one. Because we have to bring the back view into our front view with this perspective. So let's see. I might think I want to bring my whole face just a little more. Not that far. Okay. And let's go to the mouth. Mouth master. Let's steal this one. Let's paste it over here. Let's go like this. And maybe in this case, we need to not have it bursting through the face. So I'm actually going to go to the next one because it's a little bit smaller. And I'm going to bring this back so I can onion skin the shape just a little. Find that path. And since this is a little bit of an extreme pose, let's put some perspective in it a little bit. Okay. All right, let's turn that off and let's get back to the eyes. And let's see, we've got those long, stretchy eyes. Let's bring the eyebrow. Let's put it, I like to kind of put it somewhere in the middle if I have to make it so extreme. And by it, I mean the peg. Okay, now let's pose the eyes. Oh, hello, Marinac. Nice to have you here. We're rigging a cartoon character. Are you in an animation crew by chance? Okay. I'm just copying a couple poses. I'm doing my best at animating. I'm not an animator, but I am a cartoon engineer. So I'm kind of doing my best here. Yeah, Bass Birdie, if you've got tips, feel free. If you've been given any advice, gosh, don't let me steal the show right now. We've decided that Kadence is looking at a 50-foot beat, looking them up from head to toe, but I think that this is such an extreme down view that the shoes must be made of rhinestones. Marina. Nice to meet you, Marina. Oh, cool. Work on visual development. Very cool. Well, welcome. Welcome. How'd you find me? Secrets getting out. Okay, let's go to this eye. I'm gonna try not to let the eyes. I know there's a whole bunch of animation rules around the eyes and touching the face, touching the side of the face. We're gonna have to skirt this a little bit. Oh, not that one, I want the other one. Okay, we'll have to take a look at that. Those eyes probably don't look the best right now. Much worse. It should be a much worse kept secret in my. What are you? I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around that sentence. It's a double negative. I'm an animator, and there you go, Bass Birdie. Nice to introduce yourself. Marina, yeah, rigging is definitely hard sometimes, but I like to say you want to start small and work your way big, and then when you get to animation, you want to start big and then work your way small, so that kind of helps people get together. If you go to my website, all this material is available there. I don't know if this is too much of a rig for you to handle right now, but I will be having a smaller rig coming up. So if you're patient with in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be announcing the next rigging project. And it's a little bit smaller. It'll be a little bit easier to tackle for a first rigging project than this one. This one was more about getting the skills out. This is like, it's not quite production quality, but it's pretty close. It's a really good stepping stone into getting production quality rigs. Oh, I appreciate it. I like that it's kind of small, to be honest. It takes a lot less pressure, not as pressure on this end. So I kind of like that. But yeah, I hope you pick up some cool rigging tricks. I thought rigging was scary the first week that I used it as well, and then I really fell in love with it. And if you like puzzles, if you like games, it's a really cool trade. And you don't teach it too much in school. So that was my mission anyway, to bring it a little bit forward. So okay, I'm pretty sure that this face is looking awful. So, but let's just let's move on. We'll get into that stuff afterwards. Let's not nitpick right now. Let's get over to the head. Let's check out this forehead. I want to bring this forward because it's in front of. It's in front of there. There we go. And the other thing, I might have to figure something out here. All right, let's see. How are we doing this? I want. How do I want to do this? Okay, let's bring this forward so that I can see. All right, this is, where's this peg? This peg right here. All right, let's bring in this volume shape, and then we're gonna bring in the back piece into our front piece. Let's get our deformers working well. I'm gonna have to figure this one out. Well, this is what they call tangents. Too much stuff's happening right there. We'll figure it out. Don't have to worry about that. Make sure the round shape is there. No, I don't think there's a rigging class ever. Bass Birdie, do you have a rigging class? I've never heard of a rigging class specifically. It's usually like a week or two devoted to it. And most of it, I think people either learn from online, go to those classes, or teach themselves, which I did. I taught myself because we didn't have any of that stuff back then. But that's cool. If you can learn rigging in Maya, you can learn rigging here. That's how I see it. I think that rigging in Maya is a little bit more complicated. There's a couple more steps. So if you can wrap your head around that, you'll be fine here. Definitely. Okay, let's bring this carrot top in front, and also the shadow. We also want to make sure that we are bringing that whole shadow. So bring this forward. I might have to bring let's see, let me check out. Figure out the thing, and then from in the back view I have these two things that I want to steal. Which one's the back view? Is it this one? So I've got this shadow and I've got this little carrot topper, which I feel like it's a little out of order right now, but I want to do this and this, and I want to see if I can find them. Let's see, where are they in the network? Right next to each other, so I can do them one at a time. I want to bring these into here, so I can turn this drawing on, and I can turn this drawing on, and then it's just a matter of arranging things so that they look nice. Cadence's head got bulky. I like this one. Well, welcome. I'm glad you found the channel. I do this every Tuesday from 4 to 6, so I'll be wrapping up soon. Today we'll look at we'll look at the 3 poses that I did for the head tilt. Maybe I'll ask a friend to go over it and provide some feedback on the eyes. Look at that. Even professionals have to grab that sometimes. But what was I gonna say? Where are you from? That's the big question. Where are you from, and what are you working on now? That's the big question. Where are you in the world? What is it? Looking at Maya's user interface is like looking at oh yeah. I don't know if I know what that painting looks like, but I know the name. Don't ask me to say it though. No, knowing Maya is what got me through learning Toon Boom. Had I not known Maya from school, I would not have been able to apply a lot of the things that I had learned from like the network view and the node view, all that stuff. I would not have been able to wrap my head around this. This was, I would say, the Toon Boom, without any help, was the hardest thing that I ever had to learn. Yeah. Yeah, it probably was. Mexico, but you live close to San Francisco. Oh, though, well, that's wonderful. I actually used to do a lot of work with in Palo Alto at the University, Stanford, for camp, being a camp counselor, a summer camp counselor. So very cool. And you two are really close to each other. You're both in California. So lucky. All right, so let's see. Let's figure out how to make this. Go back. Let's give some proper things. This is where, this is how you like learn how to break a rig. So this is pretty cool. Let's see. We want this to be a little cuter. Do I have another? Do I want to use this? Do I want to use this? No, I don't think so. Let's go back to the first drawing. All right, we've got, let me turn this. Don't want to see this for a quick second. Just want to look here. All right, we're gonna extend these. Let's go over here. I was saying that I'm not a great person to animate with the timeline because I learned how to animate because I was more comfortable with the network, so I animate in the network. So sometimes not the best. Okay, I don't want to use this one. Oh, now I wish I had grabbed all of those. I'm gonna bring these down here. Put all of those on one peg. All right, I'm not gonna use these shadows because they're getting in the way. But where do I want the peg to be? All right, so what I'm doing right now is kind of like gauging, because again, you always want to go from big to small. I want to make sure that peg is where I want it, because the deformers are gonna put it into shape. So let me undo. I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna bring this down just a little, because if I move it all the way out of the way, you can see that it's here. And then from here, I will rotate the whole thing. Let's just go for it. And then I'm gonna counter animate. This is what we call counter animation. I think that's a little too close. Keep getting it confused. It's not actually what I want. So something like this. But this is this one. So now you can see that the shadow is above the eye. The big monster right now is snoring. She's being so cute. Oh, a little cool called Cogswell. It's cute. That's a very Harry Potter kind of word. So, you guys are so kind of close, but not totally close. I used to live next to an Anza, but it was not a school. It was a club. I keep grabbing the mouse. This is a really good pose because it's really interesting. Because now we're really kind of playing with a lot of aspects and changing them. So actually, this was a really good progression of poses to get into. Let me see if I can move this back, and then I want it to be behind the other piece of the hair. Nope, it goes behind the head, which I don't want. But this is really good. We're going to run into an issue, or we're running into issues, where we have to kind of make the rig. It's really easy for people learning how to animate to say things like, the rig wouldn't do what I need it to do. And so this is where you really want the rig to do what you want it to do. This is one of those cases. So we're going to make the rig do what we want it to do. And we're going to get there. And I've got 20 minutes. So we're going to do it. All right, so this here, I'm going to... That's definitely something worth investigating, because it shouldn't be cutting the shadow. Shouldn't be cutting the face. I don't like that. And this, let's see, where does that shadow go? That shadow is here. So let's bring all right, and then we've got this. All right, so we want this to be Now, if you're wondering why I can turn my deformers on so quickly, I'm using the hotkey that I set up at the beginning. At the very, very beginning, I set up my hotkeys so that if I hit B, it would turn on my deformers because I know how much I love my deformers, turning them on and off. So I've set that hotkey up, but you have to set that key. There is no, that one is not set by default. Got like this cute little, so sassy. I'd handle the volume change. I'm really more interested in how I'm going to handle removing the lines. This perspective is tricky. Yeah, that is a bit tricky. And I should say that this design was given to me by a good friend, Maybel. So he's provided the turnaround and the pose sheet. So we're doing some head tilts right now as the first ones. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate, if I'm happy with this, and let's just double check let's bring the Z depth forward so that it's totally ahead. Looks like I've got this a little bit too short, but I don't really want them to not touch at the top. I think that's a bit weird. There's no gap there. So I'm happy with that shape. I might leave it. Okay, and so what I'm gonna do is get all these. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm now whispering. And we can keep Okay. Let's clean this one up again. Or do you think we need a shadow in the bangs? Wonder what that's gonna look like. Might help us keep volume. Let's see what it looks like, especially since we have the hair color change. Let's see. Let's see if we can make that look like it's supposed to be there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make copies and duplicates of these drawings. I'm gonna hide this one. So I'm gonna try not to duplicate both. I'm gonna leave one. Okay, I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna duplicate it, and I'm gonna remove the outline. Oh, did I hit the right button? Yes. And here I'm just gonna make an adjustment. I don't want to change anything down here. It's just that up here it's not really making sense. So I'm just gonna go in and create. Oh, looks like there's one there. I'm gonna delete it. That's not gonna work. All right, and then here, and I think that what's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to go in and change the build a little bit. And again, this is like something that we try to do for animation is make our rigs perfect, but again, it's pretty hard to do that. But as a senior animator, something like this would be, if you're familiar with Harmony, a fix like this could be pretty common, could take you like a quick second, but as a newer animator, something like this might really impair your workflow, so this might take hours to figure out. So I'm glad that I can do it on camera and on screen, but I'm also, where am I going with this? I'm also very aware that this might be a difficult thing for someone who's new to the software to figure out. Let's see. We're gonna remove this, and we'll do this one. And now what that didn't do was it didn't break our outline here, and so I actually have to use our auto patch from this piece to also cut into all of these pieces for it to kind of show up. So that's the networking that I have to do right now. So this might be a little bit more advanced for a user or a first time user, but good practice. All right, so this piece right here needs to cut this one. So I'm gonna steal this composite, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take two, so I gotta cut two things. So I'm gonna take this auto patch, I'm going to create two connections. Pretty sure that's the right piece. Yes. And then I'm going to cut this one. And that's right here. And then I need to cut this one. How come that's not cutting it right now? Which is the last one. Transfer that over, and it should be working. Why is that not working? Oh, because the drawing is not in the right spot. So let's move that over to the color art layer. Now it'll work. All right, there we go. And now let's see this. Does that look like it makes sense, that little line for this view? I don't hate it because it kind of looks like kind of helps shape, but I don't have the perfect deformer. This is why we don't want to put the deformers. This is why we line up our deformers with our pieces, with our lines, because it's very difficult for animators to go in and all right, let's see. think what would be better here is just to remove that outline on the top. And to probably recolor this. So I'm going to duplicate it again. Not again, I'm going to duplicate it for the first time. So next drawing, and I'm going to assign those deformers. There we go. Should be the hair color. And this piece here, you'll just disappear and turn it off. So when it moves, it will disappear and then it will turn off. All right, and let's smooth out this line. And I think that the hair, it'll be good to go. All right. Keep it connected to the head. Maybe make this one a little bit. Oh, hey, Brett. We are posing. We're posing Kadence. We did a HUD turn, and I'm actually about to show you what it looks like. So if you hang on a second. Boy, my computer has been chugging. All right, so I'm going to turn off the, I was saying that because I'm not an animator, sometimes it's hard for, especially to get into the face, especially facial animation is very specific. You have to be very cautious on how things look. That's definitely the #1 place for notes, but I have been copying this post sheet, so I'm going to turn it off and we're going to look at my artwork for the first time to see how it goes. And I know that the face is going to look a little funny, but let's deactivate this and let's see how it looks. So getting close. There's definitely some things that I want to change, and we can I'm definitely going to go in there. I got a couple minutes. I'm going to do that. Let's see. Let's angle this a little bit. We want to start playing and make sure our angles are good. This might even want to look down. I'm going to check here. Yeah, it looks like it's a little too high still. Maybe this is a little too low. Stretching. All right. Let's see. Got some movement on this. All right. So just gonna make a couple things, couple changes here, so that it looks like they're coming alive. The eyes, oh. I'm gonna need some help here. We're not on model at all. All right, but it's fun to do, fun to practice with. Okay, and I need to go back in, and this one is, oh, did I not change the drawing? Hope that I, just make sure that's not cutting it. Okay, it's this. We don't want that poking out. All right. It's pretty hilarious, actually. All right, so we've got, our cheeks are too big here, and then they're pretty thin here. So let's play this game. Let's have a little bit of fun in the animating section. and try to bring these 3 poses together. We'll make this one wider. Vroom. Look at those chubby little carrot cheeks. We went from looking at a 50-foot beat to looking at the 50-foot beats rhinestone shoes. That was the story. All right, let me keep going. This is fun. Welcome to Lindsay's animating school. I'll be honest. I get other people to train animating. I just train the rigging. All right, let's see. Let's bring those pupils back. Straighten everything out. All right, so we'll bring it here. And actually, I think that it's really these things. These pupil whites. Let's just do this. This will make a big impact. Looking at right there. Okay, so it looks like the top of my head is cutting my eyeballs. I don't want that. And I need to make sure that my eyelids are out of the way because they're popping through. This will be fun. I'm gonna get revisions. I'm gonna get revisions, and I'm gonna do the revisions next week. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to fix up. And you can see my mistakes compared to an animator. All right, we've got this. And then we... All right, so from here, I'm going to bring this one down a little bit too. Clean up these eyes. This one looks a little low. I don't know what this little... What is this? A dimple. Where is it coming from? What is it peeking through? Oh, what button did I hit? Turn that off. Okay. All right, let me make some adjustments on these 2 eyes, and then I will call it quits for today. The Kadence rig is up on, I just started, I created a Gumroad account, and so it's up on there. And if you search Lindsay K, it would be there. But I also just posted it on my LinkedIn channel. So if you go to my LinkedIn account, not my LinkedIn account, but you know, my page, it will be there. It'll be under today's. I don't think that at the time I had my logo on there, so it's the default Gumroad logo. But Kadence is online, and you can play with them. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I can get. Let's see if I can get somebody to help me out in my animation posing stage. I'll get some notes. It'll be pretty cool, actually. So next week's a bit of a surprise. And I think this pupil is too big. It doesn't need to be that far up into the eyebrow. Let me make the eyes a little wider and a little shorter. Already pretty big impact here. I feel better about this pose. I think that's probably why animators will typically put their storyboard off to the side so they can actually look at what they're doing. Probably makes a big difference, as you can see. See, can I move this? No, I'm gonna move this one. Okay, make it a little thinner. All right, so there's something to work with. And the mouth, we'll let the animator tell me what to do with the mouth. Let's get some notes. This will be fun. Okay, let's see. Am I happy with the, I mean, I don't really have the time right now, but I'm just wondering if I'm happy. But you can see some stretch there. It's pretty cute. All right, so this pose, we're going to go, it's going to hit really fast. That's technically what's going to happen. So let me do, I'll just do a quick run through, and we can have a nice little shared laugh before I go. Do I have the body here? I do. All right, so I'm just gonna space out these pegs. I'm gonna go up one, and I'm gonna create keyframes here, and I'm just gonna go, let's put there are shortcuts for what I'm doing here. I don't know why I'm not using them. I think it's plus. Oh, that's why I'm not using them, because it moves all my keyframes over here. So I'm not moving those. Just moving them one at a time. And all I'm doing is creating some space in between the keyframes. And I'm going to hit a stop frame, and I'm gonna I don't know if I need to loop this, but let's hit play so we can see where our pops are. All right, so what I would do is I would definitely want to lean this the forehead part up towards the first pose because this is so extreme. It's so bendy. So I would definitely want to carry that forward into this. This pose is now looking very static for where it's coming from. And again, I didn't do too much to that pose, but it is technically our breakdown. So we want to make sure that we give it the love that we need. So maybe that's probably something that I should have thought about. Fast Birdie, I'm looking at you. Just kidding. Just kidding. You can't find my link to Gumroad. You know what? I noticed on LinkedIn that I didn't, that it always changes the link to be some sort of LinkedIn link. But I will figure it out to get that to you. Okay, why do I have so many? I just want to see. There we go. And I want to do this on this pose. And this one. Alright, so let's have a little bit of fun here. Let's get a little bit wild. Let's just create a little bit of head shape. It's not quite the head tilt. It's more of a animated. Alright, so red is where we've been. Green is where we're going. So I want to be somewhere. Somewhere there. Vroom. Use this. Vroom. Oh, I hope I don't have any of the comments on my animation skills. That's what this week is going to be about. Watching me fail at animation. All right, so I'm gonna wrap up here because it's getting kind of late. I know Mabel's gonna need to go outside soon, so I hope that you have a wonderful week. And I will see you next week, and I will get notes. I'm gonna get drawovers, and we're gonna keep working on this. I wish to animate that. You can, and you will. It is there. It should be on my LinkedIn. So maybe that didn't happen the way that I wanted it to. So I'll double check. I'll take a look. I know that I've created 2 folders in my computer now, so that I have the rig folder and I have the animation folder. Or I created the separate folder. So the fixes are not quite on the old folder. Somebody's getting antsy. Yes, it's time to get off the computer. And so where am I going with that? It will be there. You know what's something I have to do? I have to probably do a link in my bio from my Instagram account too. I know that you follow me there. So I should probably have that very accessible on my Instagram account. And I will figure it out. I'll get you the link, Steph. I'll get you the link. But Marina, thank you so much for joining me, and it's nice meeting you. I hope that this is not the course. This is maybe not the course that you want to follow along with for rigging in particular. But it was super nice to have you around, and I hope we come back. Yeah, Maybel says goodbye, and she's gonna start barking as soon as I stop petting her. So, bye. Have a good week. Okay, Maybel, okay.